With grant money and government funds harder to come by, nonprofits are looking for new ways to fund their social causes. In some cases, it means acting a little bit more like entrepreneurs. Here to talk about that is Ellis Carter of the Phoenix-based Carter Law Group. She's a nonprofit attorney with 15 years experience advising nonprofits and socially responsible companies. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The idea of nonprofits reinventing themselves. What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about nonprofits acting more like mission-based businesses, going out and looking for new streams of income and thinking of out-of-the-box, more innovative ideas to create recurring streams of revenue.
And the idea is here because the impact of declining resources on nonprofits, it's real, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and we've seen since the beginning of the recession, we've seen quite a few nonprofits go out of business. Other luckier nonprofits have been able to merge or collaborate with other organizations to keep their programs going, but these pressures continue to persist.
What about taxpayer funds, government grants? Again, that well drying up a little bit?
You know, that's probably the area where we've seen the most shrinkage. We've seen the most cuts with respect to government-funded organizations, organizations that are dependent on government contracts. Have seen huge cuts to their bottom line, and they see more coming.
So, thus, reinvention.
That's right.
Give us some examples of how nonprofits are, quote unquote, reinventing themselves with that kind of climate.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more interest in collaborating with other nonprofits, for-profits, government. Nonprofits are starting to look not just at how can we increase our bottom line, but who do we need to partner with in the community to make a real impact on the mission that we were created to address. And so if that means collaborating with other nonprofits to have a more cohesive approach to a problem, with government agencies, even with business, then they're becoming more open and more aware of the need to do that.
People hear collaboration, though, and they worry that maybe some of the initial focus, the targeted focus, could be lost in something that's bigger than what it once was. Is that a valid concern?
You know, I think it can be, but collaboration can take so many forms. A lot of times, nonprofits, when they hear collaboration, they start to think merger. We're going to lose our identity. And mergers don't have to be, can take many different forms, but collaboration is far broader than just a merger. Interestingly, we have a foundation here in Arizona, the Lodestar Foundation, in cooperation with ASU, did a collaboration prize, and they did a study through all of the entries of collaborative projects that were submitted and have published that information about all the different types of collaborative arrangements that they've seen, which is quite instructive. It's really not just limited by the imagination. There's all kinds of ways for nonprofits to work together.
There are also all sorts of ways, I would imagine, it seems to me from what we're hearing, for nonprofits to act a little bit more like for-profits. Give us some models there, some examples.
Yeah, you know, we're seeing a lot more of that. I'm getting a lot more calls from nonprofits who are looking for ways to take their assets, whether it be their expertise, intellectual property that they've developed, maybe software, tools to help them do their job, and actually turn them into for-profit businesses. Some of those for-profit, we call those social enterprises. Sometimes they are workforce development programs where they're creating a business in order to help train their clients and help them become more employable. Other times they are taking a tool or some sort of expertise that they have on their staff, and they are trying to turn that into a business or another service that they're able to provide.
Is that viable, though, in an economic climate where everyone's trying to get as much as they can, and the bottom line really is a bigger bottom line? Is it viable?
You know, I think it is. I think that nonprofits struggle just as much as any company. And as you know, many new companies fail. But what we find is that a lot of people are more interested in working with a company that has a basis for it. It's not about just making money. It's about also accomplishing a social purpose.
And I know that there are things called hybrid organizations and benefit corporations. Talk about those particular avenues.
You know, that's a really interesting development. There is an interest around the country among for-profits of having a legal form that permits you to pursue both a mission and making money. And so there are some new legal forms that have developed in other states the Benefit Corporation and the Flexible Purpose Corporation in California, something called the Low Profit Limited Liability Company. And those are all mechanisms for someone who wants to create a for-profit business, but that has a mission basis as well. So a dual purpose company, essentially.
How do you define, though, how do you account for the mission base? I mean, the mission, what is accomplished in terms of the mission base? I mean, it's one thing that a for-profit company looks at the bottom line. What does a benefit corporation look at?
Well, I can give you an example. My own firm is actually a licensed B corporation. We don't have the statutory basis for a benefit corporation in Arizona, but you can achieve somewhat the same result by working with B Labs. You have to go through a very intensive process, and they look at how you handle your recycling, your environmental practices, your transparency, how you treat your employees, your social benefit, the things you do for the community. And if you meet their criteria, then you can take a number of steps to become a licensed B Corp. And so it's really a mechanism to prevent greenwashing, which is when companies go out and say, look, we're doing all these wonderful things, but there's no real mechanism to make sure that that's the case. And in fact, I am being audited. My firm is being audited by B Labs this summer, so that'll be very interesting.
Yes, I'm sure
I told them I would be happy to welcome them to Phoenix in July.
Yes, we'll do it outside.
Yeah.
How's that? How successful, though, are these B Corps, these benefit corporations? Because, again, you've got a little bit of dual purpose going on here.
Well, you know, what I'm seeing, and you can go to, I believe it's blaboratories.net, to see all the different B Corps that are out there, but it's a growing list. They're growing like wildfire. One you may have seen is Method Cleaning Products is a B Corp. Leilu Goat Milk Ice Cream, which you can buy at Whole Foods. So there's all sorts of interesting products, and a lot of these products, they had these values in place before they ever became B Corps. So they're not necessarily having to change everything that they do. I know for myself, we had many of these values in place before we even heard about B Corps, and so it was just a natural fit.
A way to emphasize those particular values.
Absolutely.
Were some of these ideas, especially these for-profit and entrepreneurial ideas, were they in development before the recession, or did the recession, was that kind of the fire that forged what's happening right now?
You know, I think a lot of these ideas were in development, but I think that it has certainly accelerated the interest and the adoption of these kinds of methodologies to try to create other sources of revenue. If you like, I can give you a couple of examples from right here in Arizona. There's a great company called Just Be Just that was a program that came out of the Lodestar Day Resource Center. And I wish I'd brought an example here, but they make soap and lip balm, and it's people who are formerly homeless, and they are learning job skills. And so that's a workforce development training program. They make wonderful products. We gave them away for Christmas presents last year, and our clients and referral sources were thrilled. So that's a great example. And now they're starting to get orders. They were just selling through their website. They're now getting orders in commercial retail establishments.
Well, that is a great example. We do have to stop you right there. This sounds very encouraging, though, and we'll keep an eye on this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.